trade environment that is undergoing a seismic shift. Supply chains are fragmenting. Tariff and non-tariff barriers are rising. And digital transformation has become a race to the finish line. So, the next question we ask is there a silver bullet, a single decisive strategy that can catalyze export growth in today's complex world? The answer is maybe yes, but it's not one size fits all solution. The silver bullet we're looking for is a strategic system built on 5 core drivers, each backed by global evidence. This list is very familiar because they are not new, but there is need to revisit them in the light of the domestic and global developments emerging. One product, one competitiveness, where we compete on quality, not price. Let's start where all export begin. The product, according to the UNCTAD, developing economies lose to 25% of potential export value due to quality mismatch and lack of conformity with international standards. Let me cite Vietnam here as an example. Its electronics export surged from $4 billion in 2001 to over $100 billion by 2022, largely due to its shift from low value assembly and high quality integrated manufacturing driven by foreign direct investments, upskilling, and quality control. What works? ISO certification support programs, export quality compliance, grants for SMEs, and industry-specific R&D and tax incentives. A 2021 WTO report showed that firms meeting international quality standards were 70% more likely to export successfully than those that did not. Second, market intelligence or trade with precision. In today's fast-moving global economy, exporting without data is like sailing without a compass. Only 1 in 5 SMEs use structured market research before choosing export destinations, according to the ITC. We have been repeating this, and I share again. Using AI-powered tools like Trade Map or Market Access Map, companies can identify not only demand volumes, but also competitor presence, tariff barriers, and sanitary phytosanitary restrictions. What works? Real-time trade dashboards with customs and demand data, export readiness analytics, and market entry reports tailored to priority sectors. Firms using data-driven market selection are 32% more likely to sustain export beyond 3 years, according to a World Bank study in 2022. Third, digital enablement that is not allowing us to export without borders. OECD has shown in 2023 a study that digitally enabled exporters are growing 5 times faster than traditional ones. Yet, in many countries, less than 30% of SMEs have digital storefronts and only 10% engage in cross-border e-commerce. May I cite a familiar model on this point? In China, Alibaba's cross-border e-commerce platforms generated $86 billion in B2B export in 2022. What works? National e-export platforms for SME, onboarding, digital trade finance solutions, paperless customs, and digital certification of origins, According to UNESCO, full implementation of digital trade facilitation could reduce trade costs by 13% globally. Fourth, trade facilitation to cut costs and accelerate market access. The WTO's trade facilitation agreement, when fully implemented, can reduce trade costs by an average of 14.3% for developing countries. But implementation is uneven. Look at Singapore's trade debt system. It processes 99% of customs declaration electronically within 10 minutes. What works here? Electronic single window systems, risk-based customs inspection, and regional harmonization of standards and processes. Each additional day, a product is delayed reportedly reduce export volumes by 1% per day. And lastly, on the core drivers, public-private collaboration on which to build an export ecosystem. We have been seeing that export growth isn't just about logistics and markets. It's about ecosystem orchestration. Third, what works? Export mentorship, programs pairing SME with large exporters, national export councils, including government, industry, and academia, and targeted export financing tools like pre-shipment guarantees. Another report by the World Bank has proven that countries with strong export promotion agencies see 10 to 30% higher export performance, particularly in services and high-value manufacturing. Philippine export performance against this background, we check how the export industry is faring, and it seems that we are holding up. While the total export value for 2024 saw a slight dip, Philippine merchandise exports rose by 26.1% in June 2025, reaching to US dollars $7.02 billion, led by mineral goods, machinery and transport equipment, gold manufactured items, and coconut oil. This is the second highest year on growth in the past 2 years, following the 28.2% expansion in April of 2024. The growth was lower in July, but remains positive within a 13.9 annual increase in total export value, growing by a strong 17.3% year-on-year. This was driven largely by our top-performing electronics product, which expanded by an impressive 20.7% in June. The U.S. continues to be our top trading partner, proving how important this market is, particularly for the electronic sector. But we know that this is not the same story for the bigger number of our other sectors that continue to struggle due to various reasons. At the same time, however, we think that this export performance may only be largely driven by front-loading activities or accelerated shipments ahead of the implementation of the U.S., which took effect on August 7. Beyond the direct trade effects of tariffs, the broader economic outlook of developing countries can be clouded by persistent and wide-ranging U.S. tariff actions. The main concerns include supply chain volatility, investment deterrence, and erosion of predictability in global trade norms. Study by the local think tank UP Center for Integrated and Development Studies, or UPCIDS, shows that the Philippines could lose $2.2 billion in export revenues in the latter half of 2025 alone due to the new duties slapped by the United States. Most vulnerable are the labor-intensive exports such as garments, leather goods, wearables, furniture, and coconut-based products. We are thankful that at the moment, the market share of our high-value export like electronics and semiconductor and machinery products have been preserved in the new U.S. tariff regime. Acting double time to help mitigate the effect of the higher U.S. tariff, the Department of Trade and Industry has come out with statements on assistance, particularly to MSMEs, in the form of loans and continuing market access activities that include forging free trade agreements, trade missions, and business matching, particularly in new markets. By the end, among others, through the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership or CPTPP this year, the agency is also banking on the industrial strategy built around the Tatak Pinoy Act to develop and institutionalize structural reforms and programs for investment and export industry. President Marcos' 2025 State of the Nation address in July likewise delivered a strong message of support for Filipino exporters, reaffirming the government's commitment to strengthen the country's export capacity. He emphasized key priorities such as industry growth, investment promotion, and reduction of trade barriers as vital components in driving export-led development, underscoring the Philippines' highly skilled and adaptable force. Marcos urged global investors to partner with country, particularly in high-potential export-driven sectors such as electronics, automotive, biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, critical minerals, textiles, halal products, and agriculture. At the core of this agenda is the Philippine Export Development Plan or PEDP 2023 to 2028, which serves as the blueprint for positioning Philippines as globally competitive export hub. The PEDP focuses on scaling up strategic industry clusters, improving product competitiveness, and eliminating export bottlenecks. Exporters can expect enhanced government support to firm-level intervention, enabling policy reforms and tailored programs that help businesses become more export-ready and aligned with international market demands. From our market diversification programs, we see a grim outlook on the U.S. market, which account for about 15 to 20% of our total exports. This may also have a chilling effect on our total export revenues, which is already driving us to calibrate our export targets. So in conclusion, does a silver bullet to export growth exist? Yes, but it is forged, not found. Summarizing my earlier list of recommendations, it is built for world-class products, smart data, digital tools, efficient trade system, and most importantly, partnership and collaboration. The future of trade will not be won by those who but by those who build a system that can move faster, smarter, and further than ever. And we are here to renew our commitment and resolve to help ensure that such program happens in our lifetime to be enjoyed sustainably by this generation and future generation. Salamat po, and I look forward to another meaningful, productive GMM for all of us. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.